Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. Let me get this to the blue light. It is morning blue light time. I'm amazed how much that wakes me up. Seeing the blue light in the morning um, is just like very, very natural for me. And then there you go. There's a nut for Rhett. But yeah, the blue light feels so right to me in the morning. And then the evening, if like, let's say I was really tired and I needed to stay up, I would definitely put a blue light on. To try to keep me awake. But anyways, probably that would be actually be kind of cool because I was toying with the idea of setting up some sort of web page where I can set up boxes on it, and then the boxes would align directly with where I want to place all my applications while I'm videotaping. But then I could also like kind of make it have like a background color of like blue if it's before noon and then like yellow if it's between 3 and or noon and 3, and then red if it's after 3. So just kind of like put myself through the color scheme that like my body has been trained over the decades to sort of associate with the day progressing. So I don't know if it's good news or bad news, but I think yesterday my first confidence. So this is like video 588. So we have been, and there's about one video a day. So we've been working on this for well over a year, closing out 2 years. I think I screwed up. I think this application is um, a mistake, and the reason is because the first time I did this, I was just like, hey. I have a version of the truth that I want the application to have, and then but ThreeJS has a different way of doing it. So my first attempt was like a application where the truth was 3JS. 3JS is the truth. And then I found out that there are a lot of things that 3JS does in ways that I'm not comfortable with. So I need to build like sort of a, a shim between the way I want to see the world and the way 3GS wants to see the world. And I think logically and in all ways, every way I can think of that, I think that concept makes a lot of sense. But the problem is that I think there might have been a better way, and I think the better way might have been there's might have been using this attribute that they have on 3GS called um, user data. Using user data to supplement the truth, right? Like, so if 3GS isn't doing it in a way that I want to do it, um, using the data, user data might be the answer. Now, actually, the more I talk about it, I think maybe it's not. Maybe you just can't get enough in a single JSON to have everything you need. Um, I don't know, but anyway, so I don't. I'm definitely going to stay with this at least until the end of the year, and then maybe start a new project at the beginning of 2027. Um, just gonna have to see how these, because basically everything that's pushed me in this direction is my other project called Simple 3JS, where I was trying to do like very simple, focused things on 3JS. That's very, very 3JS specific. Eventually, I got to the point where I can't learn anymore because the platform. I can't build on what I already have the way because when I want to try to learn another thing, I sort of need to abandon what I had before and then all that. So, anyways, from having done that, I'm starting to realize that maybe it would have been better to do it a different way. To kind of go with my original scheme, but use user data to sort of supplement the truth. But now I'm back to thinking that might not be enough. Anyways, especially I guess because a lot of stuff is outside of 3GS. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. Um, but anyways, the problem we're trying to solve now is that we have a pattern, and this pattern basically is like the layout, the system that handles layout was scanning the application and looking for all the 3G, all these little 3GS visualizations. And so then you go here and it scans it. And then when I click on this, it destroys all those. It creates new ones and then it scans for all these new ones and then it registers them. And that is how we have inspect. Let's see. That is how we have these console. Uh, where are you? What is this? Yeah, recyclable sequence. So that's how we end up with like sort of this, where we have these visualizations and they're tied to these renderers, right? So we go to like this visualization and it's not tied to a renderer. It's this viz component, this visualization, ST visualization is tied to a viz component. 19. Yeah, see, yeah, it's not going to be data, user data is just not going to be enough because yeah, yeah. Because like this is a lot of the things that I'm collecting up and making um, are don't exist in ThreeJS. I have things that just don't even exist at all, and they kind of need their own, their whole. They need to be their own thing. So yeah, the user data wasn't going to be enough to do the things I want to do. But anyway, so we get a viz component and it does that. So that pattern's great. We're great for both of these. And then if we go to the data view, there is no component, so that makes sense, and it deletes all the components properly and all that. So that's good. We don't have memory leak. But when you come in here, all of that stuff, all the basic assumptions all fall apart. And the more you dig, the more it falls apart. So the biggest problem at this point that we're pointing at is that unlike the rest of these, this guy doesn't handle the layout, update layout doesn't handle the actual visual component. So if we go look in the update layout, let's see, update layout, and we look in here in our update layout, we don't see a viz component anywhere in here. But if you look like in custom layout, oh, let's delete that. We are we are deleting unit tests. Okay, so I'm very confused. Oh, that very much confuses me sometimes when like like the some of the results, some of the children just are hidden, and it was confusing because I was like, I don't even see HTML. So you see in this, the viz app viz is at the highest parent, but if you look in this update layout, it's not in the highest parent. And man, I'll tell you, that is probably one of the patterns that really messes everybody up is that um, they think that everything stays the same, whether it's a grandchild or great grandchild or whatever. But actually, all the timing and everything, all kinds of timing, all kinds of things change. So, like you're the way you code when something's directly on a parent versus when it's deeply like deeper is different. And that is a tough one. But anyway, so we know from yesterday that it's inside this app layout viewer. So now we go to app layout viewer, and then this one is different because, like, I think the rest of them just delete them, but this one actually will only come up if there's a renderer ID. So that whole pattern is just is null and void. It doesn't. It's of no use here. The pattern of like querying to register. So that means that we should only be looking, well, A, we should probably just be looking for it inside this app viewer, and the app viewer should only be looking when there's a renderer ID. And I think we have a effect. Um, or okay, so we don't have an effect, but we need to listen for having an edit ID. So then I think this effect lives here. Okay, so there's an app update layout service edit render ID. And since it's executed as a function, my assumption is that it is a signal. So, and this is where it'd be nice if that was, if it said signal here. And I was able to mouse over, and I see now that it does say writable signal. So we know it's a signal, but man, it would have been nice if that said signal, because I would have not had to, that would have reduced the amount of cognitive load to figuring this out. But so now we have an effect, and we want it to run anytime this signal changes. So that's the first thing. So with effects are different. They're very, very different. And basically, you give it a function, and this function is going to get executed anytime any of these things happen. So anytime the edit render ID changes in any way, shape, or form, this whole function runs. So now, typically, I think you would normally console.log revenue. So typically, this I forgot what I was going to say. Edit. But anyway, so I think what we're just looking, we want to run this, we want to pass this in as an array. Um, but there's only going to be one item because this thing isn't even capable, this layout viewer at this point in time isn't even capable. And if that actually ever gets complicated, that'll be really nice. Um, because um, because then all of that code that handles showing multiple visualizations in one view on the in here will be handled here. Will be limited to this. Um, the logic for showing and all that. Maybe the logic for making it happen may not be limited to this. And by making it happen, I mean like pushing a button or whatever you would do to be able to look at two at one time. Um, that. And so what I'm going to do here is going to add like some little thing. So 3 negatives. And then in here, I'm going to add this to the filter so that we don't. Now, I thought it would be filtering everything out, but it's not. Top. That's so weird. D dash. Like it's weird that this, when I'm filtering for 2 dashes, this 3. So I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't know what to do with that. So I'm just going to make this and. Let's see if we can filter on that. Okay, so there's our ands. And that's so freaking weird. Okay. Okay, good. So that's working. So see, this is edit renderer ID -1. Is that right? That's not even right, right? Oh wait. Okay. Okay, so this is our renderer ID. So basically, we do not want to do this here. We would want to do this there, but it doesn't exist. So, and then that's another thing that another wrinkle that we don't have that we would have otherwise. So, anyways, now, since all I care about is this, so we're at -1, so we shouldn't do anything. Now we're at 1, so we should do something. So I learned this from doing unit tests, even though I'm not doing unit tests anymore. I will spare you the rant. But I do like just calling something and I like the concept of functions over branches. I'd rather send it to a function and let the function handle it than instead of saying in here in this effect, if this, then use the function. If not, I just want to call the function, pass in the value, and respond accordingly. So basically, this is going to be handle render edit change. I think I'm kind of going away from what I normally would do. And then this is the renderer ID, and it's the ST renderer ID number. And back when I was doing unit tests, I definitely would always return at least a true, like a Boolean, and then return true or something. But I'm not that worried about that now. So now over here is where I would want to be able to add this logic, um, because okay, st renderer ID, um, just because it's so easy in a unit test to pass in that it's greater than 0, right? So if it's greater than 0, then we want to console log look for the um, visualization viz. Now, you got to keep in mind that the way these things are timed out, like so whether it calls the effect first inside of here before it hides things and all that, like A1, the way that's timed out is I don't think very like locked in. So if you do an upgrade, there's a very good, this is where you might run into a problem. Like before you didn't have a problem, then you do the upgrade, and then now they've kind of changed up the way the timing works for whatever reason, and now what the code that used to work doesn't work anymore. That is not unusual. That is like a very high risk thing. Or something that wouldn't have worked before works now, and then everyone thinks that you have this extra code there and you're just insane because you have this code there, and you probably don't even remember why you put that code there. It was because it didn't work before. Look for the new viz, and then else, and this else will go away. Console.log ignore. So I'm just doing this just to make sure that my reality is as I think it is. Ignore. Now the problem is our console logs, we won't see them because we don't have an and in there. So I'm just gonna have a single and. So if I want to ignore these, I can, but because I could just add another and in there. All right, so let's go here. Let's add something. Let's go here. Let's go here. Okay, so I don't think, it doesn't look like it happened. Oh, I never call it. So it turns out in JavaScript or any other language, as far as I know, there's probably an exception to this, but this um, there's so many yeah, I forgot what I was going to say, but because then another thing popped in my head, and that's that, like, I can't even tell you how many times I've spent like hours trying to debug why something isn't working, only to find out that I wasn't actually calling it. I never called it. And I'm like, why isn't it getting called? And then I realized, oh shit, I never called it. I guess that's probably one of the major benefits to um, this sort of slow iterative building that whenever I can do it, I love doing it. You can't always do it. You can do it most of the time though. The majority of the time you can iteratively build things out, but there are times that you can't. Like especially with Angular material, like you just have to have everything working and then it just suddenly works once all the pieces are working. You can't really just build on a baseline. Um, update. Okay, so yeah, so we ignored it here and then we looked for the new renderer ID. Now, I don't know if I'm handling like tearing it down. So that's like one of the things is like we're gonna have to check right after we do this. it with the in the data table and see if it's still there after it exists. But it's kind of nice because we do have the data, the data table here. So once we start adding this thing, there's a good chance that we need to do something to delete it. But um, we have this piece done. So what we have to figure out is, and I don't even know, maybe this isn't even the right way to do this now that I think about it. Maybe it would, no, I was gonna say it might be better to have um, this thing like emit a signal back up, um, and then this listen for the event of the signal, which wouldn't be a big deal setting that up and then all that, but I probably want to not mess with this if at all possible. Mess with the visualization so that I can accomplish update. Um, and I don't know exactly why, and I don't want to try it out, like what the deal is. But we want to look for the new viz. So basically, we're going to see if this has anything in it. And that leads to the question is like, I wonder when this even gets set up. Um, so this is this visualization items. I'm curious. Now this can be really tricky because sometimes it'll show you the value, but it was the value not when this happened. It was actually a value later. Okay, and then, okay, it's and. So let's go back to our filtering. And this is something that I do all the time, all the time. Okay, so we have our query list and it has a length of 1, which is weird to me because there's nothing in here. Although I guess it might exist, it just doesn't have anything in it. It probably actually does exist now that I think about it. That's interesting to me, actually, because we definitely don't want to record that. I don't think. Although it might be a good test for stuff. All right, so now let's look at our query list. Not only that, but it will show us that we do have a query. We do have a viz component, but we can't be sure that the viz, well, but oh, if it has a viz component, it does have an ID, and all I need to do is show the ID. Is that true? I think so. I don't know. But anyway, so now that's a step forward. Gotta go. Happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.